On the evening of May 8, 2025, the world watched as white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel. The meaning was clear: the Catholic Church had chosen a new pope. Moments later, the balcony doors of St. Peter's Basilica opened, and with a steady voice, Cardinal Dominique Mamberti declared, "Annuntio vobis gaudium magnum, habemus papam." The name that followed stunned the world. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, an American, had been elected the 267th pontiff of the Catholic Church. He would take the name Leo XIV. And with that, centuries of European tradition were broken as the United States, for the first time in history, became home to the Bishop of Rome. Robert Francis Prevost was born on September 14, 1955, in Chicago, Illinois. The son of a devout Catholic family with roots in France, Italy, and Spain, young Robert was raised on the city's south side. He excelled in academics, eventually enrolling at Villanova University, where he studied mathematics. But it wasn't numbers that called to him, it was faith. During his time at Villanova, he encountered the teachings of St. Augustine, teachings that would change the course of his life. He joined the Order of St. Augustine in 1977 and began formal religious training. Just 5 years later, he was ordained a priest. A new path had begun, one that would lead him far from home and closer to the heart of the Church. In 1985, just 3 years after his ordination, Father Robert Prevost was sent to Peru. His mission served the people of Chulucanas, one of the country's poorest regions. What began as a temporary assignment became a lifelong devotion. For nearly 2 decades, Prevost lived alongside the people of northern Peru, learning their language, sharing in their struggles, and defending their dignity. He became more than a foreign priest, he became one of them. He earned Peruvian citizenship, taught in seminaries, and trained new generations of clergy. Prevost's leadership, humility, and deep compassion left an imprint on the local church, one that would echo all the way back to Rome. He didn't go to Peru to rise through the ranks, he went to serve, and yet his service would be the very reason he was called to lead. In 2014, Pope Francis called Prevost back to Peru, this time not as a missionary, but as a bishop. He was appointed Bishop of Chiclayo, overseeing more than 1 million Catholics in northern Peru. Known for his quiet discipline and pastoral care, he quickly earned the respect of both clergy and laity. But the Vatican had even greater responsibilities in mind. In 2023, Prevost was summoned to Rome and named prefect of the dicastery for bishops, one of the most powerful offices in the Church. His task? To help choose and oversee bishops around the world. It was a role that required global vision, deep discernment, and absolute trust. In Prevost, Pope Francis saw a man who would lead not through ambition, but through service. And that quiet reputation would soon make him a contender for the highest seat in the Church. The death of Pope Francis triggered a global wave of mourning and a conclave unlike any in recent memory. As cardinals gathered in the Sistine Chapel, speculation swirled. Most bets were placed on high-profile figures from Italy, Africa, or Latin America. Few expected Robert Prevost, the quiet American bishop, to emerge as a front-runner. But as the ballots were cast, something unexpected happened. His years of global service, his loyalty to Pope Francis, and his reputation as a humble unifier began to shine. On May 8, 2025, the smoke turned white, and moments later, Cardinal Dominique Mamberti stepped onto the balcony and declared, "Habemus papam, Robertum Francisci Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leo IV Decimus." The crowd fell into stunned silence, then erupted. For the first time in history, the Bishop of Rome was an American. Pope Leo XIV had arrived. From his first appearance as Pope Leo XIV, one thing was clear. This would be a papacy rooted in humility. He spoke not of power, but of listening. Not of condemnation, but of communion. In his homilies, Leo XIV has emphasized synodality, a shared walk of faith where bishops, priests, and laypeople discern together. He has continued Pope Francis's focus on the poor, the marginalized, and the forgotten, and like Francis, he believes the Church must be a field hospital, not a fortress. His style is deliberate, calm, pastoral. He chooses words carefully, and yet behind that quiet voice lies a strong moral conviction, one that resists polarization, one that calls for unity without erasing difference. In a fractured world, Pope Leo XIV is not shouting into the wind. He is inviting us to listen. The church Pope Leo XIV inherits is not the one he joined as a young man. It is older, wounded in places, caught between tradition and transformation. Scandals have shaken trust. Political polarization divides the faithful. In many regions, church attendance continues to decline. Meanwhile, wars, climate change, and displacement challenge the Church's role in a suffering world. Leo XIV will need to navigate doctrine and diplomacy. He'll need to listen to conservatives, progressives, and those disillusioned with both. He'll be expected to reform the Church's governance without tearing at its foundation, and he'll face growing questions about the role of women, LGBTQ plus Catholics, and the very structure of the priesthood. These are not easy waters, but they are not unfamiliar to him. For decades, he served quietly in difficult places. Now he must lead in full view of the world. When Robert Francis Prevost stood on the balcony as Pope Leo XIV, it was more than a personal milestone. It was a turning point in church history. The first American pope, a man who once walked barefoot through the villages of Peru, now stands at the helm of a 1.3 billion member global church. And yet, he has not changed. He still speaks softly, still prays simply, still listens more than he talks, but make no mistake. This is a man with a mission to heal, to unify, to carry the weight of tradition into the world we live in now, without dropping the heart of the gospel. Pope Leo XIV has only just begun, and his chapter is still being written.